Hi there, friends. Welcome to the No Small Stories podcast, where we explore paths less traveled with creatives and entrepreneurs from all walks of life and in all stages of their journey. No matter how small you start, your story is always a big deal to us. So let's dive into today's episode and meet our guest. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for another episode of the No Small Stories podcast. We are joined today by Richard Wharton. Hello, and thank you. Welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
We are so excited. So, Richard, you are a content creator, you're an illustrator, you're a writer, you have your children's book that you have self-published recently, the Something Unfamiliar. So tell us a little bit about your children's book that you've published, and tell us a little bit about your creative journey and how you got from where you started to this place of putting your own content and your own creations out into the world.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I'm a military brat. I was born in Germany. I was raised essentially in the United Kingdom, traveled all around with both my parents served in the Air Force. During that time, it exposed me to a lot of different walks of life, which I'm very fortunate and thankful for. Because even after we left the United Kingdom, when we came to the States in the mid-90s, we bounced around for a few more states. I joined the military. I take off. I continued the same thing. So I didn't really start tapping into the creative side of me until after I was done with the military, until after I was done with getting my schooling done. And as a stay-at-home dad, during the time of going to school and using my veteran benefits, the Chapter 33 benefits, I had this experience with my son. He was having a lot of night terrors and joining us in the middle of the night, talking about some robot man, visiting him in the middle of the night. And this is kind of alarming to me as a dad, hearing that he's being visited in the middle of the night. Obviously, I'm thinking it's his imagination. I hear him talking about it with his brother, talking about it with his teacher. One of the after-school teachers told me that they saw him on the playground that day, kind of not really doing anything and sitting on the swing and talking with a classmate. And he was processing this experience that he was having, these night terrors, and so was I. I was watching him, and I was trying to figure out how I could help him. And that night, he asked me to stay in his bed in case the robot man comes. I said, "Of course I will." He stayed with his mom. I stayed in the room. The next day, he's like, "Did the robot man come?" And I just want to help my son at this point. And so I told a little white lie. I'm like, "Yeah, you did, but he wasn't here to hurt you. He was here looking for help. And I was here." And so he asked for me to go with him into his world, and I helped him out. I came back, and he won't be coming to bother you anymore. I mean, it was just like right off the cuff. That was the first thing that came to mind. Obviously, I had inspiration from like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe with like going through the closet. And I just kind of went with this whole robot thing. And after that, his night terrors went away. And I was like, awesome. I'm sleeping.
I love that.
Right. He's sleeping in his bed throughout the night. He's I recapped some of the conversations that he had with him and his teacher and his brother and his friend based off of what I had heard. And so the whole book is kind of based off of actual events, but with some science fiction and some fantasy and make believe added into it. They kind of make it more appealing and I talk about him dancing in the book. He really was at the time. He was actually going to hip hop. And so it was all really relatable. And for myself, I was struggling with PTSD pretty harsh at the time. And I've had a real long personal journey of combating that. And where I am today from where it kind of originated, so to speak. And I had this dark view of the world. And my boys at the time were kind of tethering me to this plane, in a sad sense to admit. But
it's not a sad thing. Listen, that's a real true thing. That's an authentic thing to say. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that resonate with that kind of that energy that, sometimes you need something to be responsible for to keep you, looking for the why do I need to improve, or the why do I need to try to get past these things, right? Like that's a real true thing. And like, I think that's really beautiful though, that you maybe in some ways the night terrors were presented as a way to help you too, right?
With the whole retrospect 2020 type deal, like not realizing it at the time, and the appreciating the struggles to see the growth and things of that nature. I see where you're going with that, absolutely. And thank you for that.
No, I do. I love that. I think that's really beautiful. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who, I mean, you know, having that military background and then PTSD is something that is a real struggle for a lot of people, and not just from your kind of background. So it's, you know, I definitely think that's, again, the importance of sharing your creativity and these stories and putting things out there in the world. You never know who you're going to resonate with or who is going to have a similar story or be able to be helped in a similar fashion by you sharing that, you know. So I think that's a really great thing that you took that difficult situation or something that was, you know, obviously a challenge, and turn it into something creative that can then be, you know, an outlet or a gift to someone else to help them kind of process the same kind of emotions. I think that's really cool.
I appreciate that, but I didn't try to make that a focal point with the children's story as I was writing.
No,
Try
but
to
just
keep it
but you're here to share the story, and we
yeah,
appreciate that.
absolutely. Yeah, no, yeah, of course. But so yeah, so the father is explaining how he sees the world, which is kind of how I'm seeing the world. And children, they're great at thinking outside the box. And us parents, sometimes we see what's at face value, and instantly, like, all these walls start going up, and we're unsure of things. And you kind of see the difference in personalities between an adult and a child in the situation when they're both in the world together, this broken world, so to speak, trying to help these robot beings. And the kid sees exactly what it is that they're missing, even though the beings don't know what it is that's broken about them. They don't know what's wrong with their world. They don't know. And the kid sees it. He's like, they're missing joy and happiness because they all seem solemn and they all seem depressed and they all just have this very gloom aboutness. And that's exactly how the father sees everything. It's just this gray world where everything blends into each other. It's this it's lifeless of color. And the boy's like, I got it. He's like, dance. And he loves dancing, and he just wants to share what brings his happiness with other people. And he does this, and the father is just beaming with joy, watching his son be happy. And in that moment, there's like this magic that takes place. And I don't want to spoil the show, spoil the book too much.
No, you should say show, because that just, you're just putting it out into the universe that it's going to be made into a show, and it's
one day.
No, I love it. That's how you call it in. That's a universe.
It.
That's right. The universe just slipped in a little manifestation thing for you there. So we're excited to see the show. But go ahead.
Yeah, so it's beautiful because, you know, the son who ends up struggling, and it goes to others for help because he's talking to all these people trying to process what's happening to him. They're giving him what you would normally cliche here in regards to like shadows in the night, you know, and making things out of nothing, or maybe sleeping with a nightlight, maybe
the band-aids that you put on the things, right? That aren't
the
really
typical
actually
stuff. Yeah, exactly. And so he's going through those motions and processing it like most children probably would in his own way, maybe. And at the end of it, he ends up helping others in need, and he gets that confidence, and he realizes that even if there is something new or strange in the darkness that you can't quite see, that doesn't necessarily mean it's dangerous or scary. Just shining the light on it or giving them a chance to talk is something along this. I mean, there's a lot of other messages in the story, so to speak, but him going through it all and coming out the end, you know, feeling better about it and not having those night terrors anymore. And I left the book open on purpose with a lot of open-ended questions throughout it so that I can make it a series. And I'm in the process of almost finishing up the second, but I'm going about the whole process differently. I'm not going to do the self-publishing route because I've learned everything trial by fire. You know, my ignorance.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm right there with you. You just got to keep doing the things and wait for the right stuff to fall together sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I've doing more and more research, picking up the right books, talking to the right people, networking. You know, this children's writers and illustrator market edition that was told to me by an employee at Scholastic to pick up because my ignorant self was calling all these traditional publishers, trying to give them my already self-published book. And they're like, no, there's a process and this isn't how you do it. You need representation from a literary agent and it needs to be in a format and this isn't the correct format. And I'm like, oh my God. Okay. You know, like it's been a hell of a learning curve, but it's one of those.
It's the interesting thing of trying to navigate being a creative person, right? In the world that we live in, there are so many avenues you can take yourself. That if you want to do a traditional route, there's a certain kind of process, you know. So it's the trial by fire thing, right? Yes, that is absolutely true. You just have to kind of keep going and sifting through it until you figure it out.
Yeah, and just keep trying. That's the main thing. Not getting discouraged, not stopping. Because there's been a lot of times where I felt like it, where I was like, you know what,
absolutely,
right? Yeah, and that's when you have to take that moment to self-assess, take a break, refresh, whatever you want to call it, recharge, and then get back on the horse and keep trying.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, like I play guitar, so learning how to play guitar and drums.
Yeah.
Well, I play both, but I played drums a lot longer. And I tell people that if they ask me if they want to learn how to play drums, I just ask them, how do you deal with frustration? Because you're gonna deal with a lot of it. You know what I mean?
Well,
you're gonna have to overcome yourself a lot. You're gonna have to take breaks. You're gonna hate this instrument until you learn how to play it. It's gonna be a burden, but it's like you gotta keep trying. Yeah, I mean, you gotta keep showing up.
You gotta push past that uncomfortable feeling that most of us experience when you're starting something new as well. Nobody likes to suck at anything you do. And whenever you start something for the first time, you're gonna suck at it. But that's like a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow. But if we could just get past that, let go of that self-pride barrier.
Well, like our
that
generation. Or go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say just that expectation of like everything has to be picture perfect immediately. And it's like, well, but that's not where anybody starts. And even when you get to that picture perfectness, that's still, again, there's something inauthentic about it, right? So the imperfections sometimes are, I think, a little bit easier to resonate with, right? Because we're all in this human ride, just trying to figure out the process as we go, and sometimes it's messy and ugly, and that's just a part of it.
Yeah, life is definitely messy, that's for sure.
So we did a deep dive on your YouTube channel, @RockDad1984.
Oh man, how deep did you dive into that?
Well, we watched a few videos.
We were checking out some fun that you were getting up to.
And we saw you ate snails and crickets. So what is the weirdest thing you ate for a stream? Or was that
that was a YouTube video live stream. I was streaming on Twitch, and then I would take that stream and then I would edit it and make YouTube videos. But then I got to the point where that became so task saturating and time consuming to where, like, on top of networking on social media, creating your own content to post, editing your own stuff, then actually being live. I mean, there's just so much. So I ended up hiring somebody that ended up doing some of my later videos. But the weirdest thing to eat, oh my gosh, because I've eaten hot stuff, those gross what do they call those jelly beans that I can't remember right now?
They're Bean Boozled.
Bean Boozled, thank you.
Those things.
Gross. Oh man, I still think those are probably the grossest things that I've eaten is the Bean Boozled. I mean, the snail.
Okay, wait. So between crickets and weird flavored jelly beans, the weird flavored those are the jelly beans are worse. Okay.
Yes, because they're purposely flavored to be gross, whereas the other things they're flavored to taste good.
Well, I was gonna say, whereas a cricket is trying to be gross.
Well, I saw you
had seasoned with ranch, barbecue, and
bacon and cheese.
Bacon and cheese, yeah, good job.
I saw that, and I was like, I don't know.
And then you're biting it, and like the bacon and cheese, actually, like if you can get past that mental barrier of you eating a cricket, it actually tasted like bacon. I mean, like powdered bacon essentially, but it was really dry. Gross.
I was gonna say, like the legs bit is
getting it stuck in your teeth and smiling at the camera,
that's
kind of gross.
Yeah, that's the bit that I don't know that my brain can overcome. There's just, I can't handle all the legs, and they're
I heard it kind of reminds people of kind of like cracklings. Like it's kind of got that burnt-ish taste, and it's just dry and it's crunchy.
I don't know. It's a brave thing, the people who will eat bugs.
Yeah, and then like when I did the escargot snail thing, it was like garlic butter that they were saturated in, and they had been grilled, and like it was good. Like, which was weird to say. I was like, holy crap! I would wish I could share the camera. It was actually pretty decent.
This is actually pretty tasty. I like it.
Well, I mean, garlic and butter, you can put that on your shoe and it'd be good.
I know, right? Like 100%. I'm with you on that though. Like you can't go wrong with garlic and butter.
Right.
Like that improves everything.
Then you go to the Bean Boozled, and like, what was one of the worst ones? I think it was supposed to be a dishwasher's tab. No, that's what I think it was. Like I was eating dishwasher. It was like soap or something. It was just
like
straight.
The toothpaste flavor?
No, the toothpaste was minty. And then there was like a booger one that was salty. There was a dog food one that tasted horrible. There was a a vomit flavored one. Oh my gosh, that one was terrible too. I think
I was gonna
between
say, like, vomit's not worse than dog food. I'd rather eat actual dog food than a vomit flavored jelly bean.
I don't even know. You're bringing me back to a spot that I'm trying to forget. That stuff
We
is
tried
so
to block.
bad.
We tried to block that out. That was
I
the
had almost
content.
forgot
Right.
about that part.
It's traumatizing content that we
Well,
had to
you-
create.
It's not too
I was gonna say
traumatized.
you have to think that crossed a CEO at a desk at one point and they approved it. It's like, what are they trying to do here?
That's
Right.
true.
And the
That's
bugs
true.
didn't bother me because and towards the end of my time in the military, I went into survival, evasion, resistance, and escape SEER.
Yep.
And so, you're out in the woods learning how to survive and, eating bugs and plants and stuff like that and foraging. I was easy to get past that point. It was just the purposely flavored, unnatural things that you normally wouldn't put in your mouth to eat, purposely going in your mouth for the content and entertainment of
Yeah.
others,
Yeah. Well, so I did want to ask you a little bit. Now, I know you said that your military background, you didn't really start getting into the creative process until after you left the military background. But since getting into, the writing, the illustrating and those things, are there things from your military experience that you've been able to pull in a little bit to your creativity and maybe kind of transmute some of that energy of, the PTSD? Like, have you been able to use creativity to process some of that, obviously with your book and the night terrors and things like that, but are there other things that you've been able to draw from?
To be quite honest, most of the inspiration that I draw from in regards to me and my background right now has been mostly like family related or like my childhood related. So in this second story, I'm using me growing up in England on a military installation after bouncing around from house to house and school to school, and and what that is like for a military brat to be constantly changing schools and constantly having to make friends, and how that can sometimes be a struggle, and then what kind of coping mechanisms we create in that time frame. So for me at the time when I was playing by myself, we had this gated forest that kind of separated the military installation from like a farmer, and it was a nice sized forest. And the chain link fence had this hole cut into it by somebody. I just happened to find it one day, and you can kind of squeeze to the chain link fence and go explore the woods. I freaking loved that.
Yeah, how cool. I get to
Right?
escape for a little bit and go explore nature.
And me and my buddies from school, we ended up like creating forts out in the woods. And I created this one which was like hidden. It was like this depression in the earth. And people were litter bugs even in England, and they were throwing garbage and stuff into the woods from over the fence. And we find all kinds of things like scrap lumber, carpet, tarps, furniture, you name it. And so we took the scrap
so you
garbage.
were building like a legit fort.
We did, and it was a depression in the earth that we covered with like lumber, logs, and all sorts of stuff. So we had like support, and then we put a whole bunch of boughs on it to where it just looked like garbage off in the distance. But there was a hole on either side that you can access. But we ended up turning the other side into like a fire pit area, and I stole bacon from home, and we cooked bacon out there in the woods. It was freaking awesome.
So much fun. I love that.
Yeah, it had like a carpet bottom, so we didn't have to sit in the dirt and such. I mean, and that's what we escaped to. And so I drew on that whole memory as a kid growing up in that time frame and what I was going through. And instead of it being about me, I made it about a different individual. And I'm divorcee, recently remarried. And so growing up, I'm no stranger to, physical discipline and hearing the divorce word being thrown around. I'm a millennial. A lot of people of my age are with us. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I also have
we're step siblings. So like that whole, the, blended family thing growing up. And then I'm sure you having to like experience it from a parenting angle now is a different sort of challenge, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing both sides of it essentially, and bringing that into the forefront for this little girl that the story's about. Her parents aren't doing so well, and they're both military parents, and she's having to deal with changing schools again and trying to make friends again, and she finds this hole in the fence, and it's her world of her going out and doing her own thing and being like an explorer and adventurer, things of that nature. And she has created this fort like I did as this kid in the woods. And when she does so, she creates a new threshold or a new portal that opens up into this other world. And something you'll learn in the first book is that we're being observed by these beings because there's something about the youth in this world that they don't understand. and that they see is as an answer. Obviously, because in the first one, they go to the little boy for help, and then the little boy ends up helping them. Well, you find out
Oh,
that
that's an interesting concept. I like that. That's so much better, happier an angle than like, you know, the aliens are all trying to come turn us into cattle and eat us kind of thing, you know. Like I love that. The idea that there are like these other, I don't know, and I'm not sure how you frame it, like, you know, fairy realm or other parallel, but like that they're coming and looking to them for help. Like is such a, like, I really love that they're curious about what solutions they have available, which is actually how I happen to feel about the youth of our, you know, human existence in general. Like they have solutions and ideas. I know they do. I can't wait for us to figure out how to actually listen to them so we can find them.
Give them more credit and to validate their opinions and their desire to want to go out and do things. Like my youngest right now, he's 10 turning 11. He wants to be a YouTube content creator. And I am like, okay, look, being a part of that world, understanding what you're going to be exposed to, because, you know, you get trolls in your chat, you get nasty comments on social media. And I'm like, there is a horrible mental health crisis right now with youth and depression and suicide from social media. And it just, I love this enthusiasm that you have. I mean, like he's showing me how he's creating content, but not posting it, and showing to me what it is that he wants to kind of post and things of that nature. And he does a great job. I've had to help mediate some of the music choices, you know, for like copyright infringement or just for.
Well, but you have the experience in doing content creation, so at least you have that, you know, ability to look and to know those things, right?
I wish he would just value my opinion a little bit more. Like right now, he's like, no, I'm gonna do my own thing, Dad. He's like, you had your chance. You don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know what you're talking about. Hey, but you know what? Maybe sometimes they're right, because we as adults, we do have that conditioning to focus on these are the ways that you can fall down, and these are the bad things that'll come, and these are the, you know, ugly things that are possible. And they're not thinking about those things. And it, you know, and I think that just sometimes when we get so focused on those things, we start to kind of create them just because we're focused on it, right? And that's, again, another thing that we could learn from kids who are just excited for the sake of it's exciting, right? Like it's just fun, and I'm not worried about the bad stuff that could happen because I just want to go have fun.
And it's a creative outlet, and he's really good at it. And he's even playing this game, Gorilla Tag, on the VR. And it's inspired him to want to create his own game. And so I've walked in his room, and he's got some codes up that I don't understand because I don't know coding. And he's got videos up that he's watching YouTube tutorials. And then he's got another screen up. He's got two monitors. And he's got on the other monitor, he's got an actual game up and a character, and he's in the process of designing this character, and he's showing me like its mobility. And then within a couple of weeks, he's like, Dad, go check out the map I made. And then with a couple more weeks go by, he's like, Dad, I had 8 people playing my game today. And I'm like, wait, what?
That's amazing, right? And it's just because it's a thing that he's interested in doing, and he just does it. And that's, I love that so much.
I'm just trying to help like nourish that, you know, just like, dude, we're like, you know, like you're excited about it. Let's make sure we're going about it right way. Take breaks, you know, the whole decompressing from electronics for like 30 minutes before bed type stuff. That's hard to do sometimes with him on the weekends, but you know, throughout the week, that's a totally different story, school and all. Moving off of that, I digress. You know, he's just, you know, kids, they surprise you, and you have to give them that chance to really flourish in their own light, even though you may have like another idea of what that might look like.
Can I just bring up a point here that I kind of, and maybe let me know your perspective. I don't have kids, so like, you know, this is just maybe pie in the sky, whateverness for me. But, you know, you talk about how dedicated and how easy it is for him to like want to spend time doing that. And then, you know, our society rules are that like screen time is not good for you, so you got to limit that. Okay, but and it's also, you know, you have to go to school, right? We have certain laws and things, like you got to send kids to school and they've got to learn these things. But would he really need to be going to school if he could focus that school time and those hours on learning the things that he really loves to do? And wouldn't it be better for him to dive into that? And if he's, because I get 8 people playing his game already, and he's just messing around having fun, like that's amazing. And if we really gave them more of an outlet to follow that, like where could they go if we built a system that let kids focus on things like that, instead of, well, these are the things you have to learn because that's what we've been doing forever.
Right. No, I love that little untraditional view on things and kind of breaking the cycle. And that's really a great question, to be honest with you, because it's a healthy balance, that screen time to, physical like play time, just because of the type of the differences between a screen and not getting the whole tone, inflection, like people skills that you get in person, being able to read body language and hear the inflection change
Yeah.
and make adjustments as needed. But also the those, we get the same chemicals like endorphins and serotonin and all that kind of stuff from like chasing that on screens, but we also get that in the physical world, doing the things that we enjoy, laughing with our friends, being put in situations that you normally wouldn't be put into on a digital aspect compared to a physical aspect. So I make him go out and make him play, because I grew up an outside player just like you guys did. We understand the memories, the core values that we build from playing outside because of the experiences that we're exposed to. And up until a couple months ago, he didn't know how to ride a bike, and I couldn't get him to ride a bike. I kept trying to convince him to ride a bike, and finally got him convinced to ride a bike. Now he's riding his bike all the time. He's out in the field with his buddies. They're building like dirt ramps and dirt trails, and they're out hitting jumps and stuff. He's coming home with flat tires, and we're having to go get the right gel to put into it. Oh, that didn't work. Now we got to get a new tube. I mean, he's learning all this kind of stuff that he wouldn't do if I just let him focus all his attention on like the digital stuff. And same thing with like schooling. He's been in untraditional schools where it was a charter school and it was science based and it was play based, and they were constantly outside in nature studying actual, like, the soil and plants and like biomes and things of that nature. So he's had a lot of those different experiences, and so have I. I'm kind of at the point to where the public education system to me is more scary than it is from doing a non-traditional way of, maybe unschooling and taking them out and having life experience. Like I've thought about taking them on the road. Like there's, the whole transition times, like, okay, well, I can just about do anything I want to do at this point in my life. What it is that I really want to do. Do I want to take my son traveling across the country in a mobile home where he could do schooling online, or we could do like untraditional schooling and like I can just have him learn from his life experiences, or expose him to what most kids are going to experience in America and go to a public school system where you learn to have that dynamic of a classroom, and it's up to me to kind of help give them a little bit of everything. So it's a real, short story long story short, it's a balance. What do I want for him? I want him to pursue his passions and be happy. Ultimately to kindness. I want him to be a kind kid and to pursue his passions and to be happy. Like that would make me a happy dad, knowing that that's the kind of young man that I've raised type deal, that he's happy, pursuing his passions, and he's kind.
I love that. And, how do we build a school system that comes from that kind of a space is the question. How do you build a public school system that comes from that kind of an energy, a more conscious, like be there for them to be the best version of themselves, not train them to just function in a society that if it was all working so well, we wouldn't have the mental health crisis that we have. If the structures, if the structures that we've built things upon were useful to all of us, we wouldn't be trying so hard to purge them.
Right. I mean, I'm a kind of a conspiracy theorist at times, and we're kind of like
that's just fun.
It is fun, right? My wife too. That's kind of how we kind of like jived initially, this talking, but with the whole system and the way it's designed, it doesn't seem like it's. I mean, reading some books that I've read before, it actually seems like it was more designed to kind of create us to be the, the yes, sir, yes, ma'am, working in the factory, the way they had us all structured in rows, standing in lines, being quiet, raising your hand to speak. I mean, there's a lot of mental things there.
I was going to say, when you see the, like, I don't know, it's on Instagram, the social media, whatever, where they have like pictures of like, this is what public school looks like, and this is what prison looks like. Right. And it's all the same, and it's like and it's like, and then you go if you look at like 9 to 5 cubicle life, it's again not different, right? Like it's all very like, and nobody's enjoying it.
No,
what's the point?
And they all feel defeated to where they can't even fight it. I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
No, I was gonna say I've had the discussion with Haleigh that like school and high school, it just came around as a big babysitter. It's just so we don't have an alarming number of teen pregnancies or thefts or however you want to call it. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just unsupervised teens probably wouldn't be a very good thing.
No.
More of a social experiment.
Right, but there's got to be better than like the Harvard prison experiment just continuing to be extended as what we call our public school system,
And
right?
that was still a closed circuit too. Whereas like if we had unattended teens out and about, trying to figure out things, I imagine they'd still have all the interaction with, hopefully they would have respect for the elders and actually appreciate the knowledge that they would have to pass on. I think that's something that's dying a lot more these days, to where we don't stop and listen to those who have been here longer than us and what changes they've seen, and like, hey, here's the pattern. You should watch out for this XYZ. History shows this. Know your history, otherwise it will repeat itself type stuff. And we don't listen to enough of our elders in regards to their experiences. So digressing from that, with the teenagers, hormones, right? I mean, like they're going to be like high school years. Yeah, they kind of turn into a little bit of a jerk. I have an 18-year-old getting ready to graduate. He's gone through his phases. Go ahead.
Right.
No, I was gonna say that's fun. You get to see kind of a spectrum then, right? Like I have younger siblings that are in college now, and that's something that it's interesting to sort of see and experience what they go through and be like, oh yeah, I did that. Yep, I've been there.
Yep, like oh, thank you for that memory. Yes, I was that way too.
Yep.
Like, Dad, I really drove my parents crazy.
I mean, it's part and parcel of the game, right? Like that's just part of the rules.
Territory. Yeah. But at the end of it, like I'm so proud of him, because I struggled with dyslexia in school, and that made writing a difficult thing for me in a younger age, because I was so scrutinized about punctuation and grammar and spelling. And I was having to go to a speech class because when I moved from England to Texas, I sounded weird, and they didn't like how I pronunciated certain letters. And so I had to work on that. And so like I went through all the scrutiny with all the same struggles that I saw him beginning to go through with his, once we figured out he had dyslexia as well. And it was a complete shift to where IEP, homework became a whole different like ball game in regards to like how he could go about it. He had more tools presented to him. So we can see that things are getting better in comparison to like how it was for us and how it is for our youth, or for our kids, excuse me. And what it's going to be like for them moving on.
Well, even that is something that's a little bit interesting to me. And I wonder if you can, talk about that just a little bit. Is there something in sort of labeling something as dyslexia that in itself limits what might be available there? Maybe you understand messaging differently. Maybe you communicate differently, right? Like it's again that idea of just because we have this box of like language and what language is supposed to look like, which for as much as people complain about like young kids today and punctuation and grammar and texting, etiquette and whatever, email etiquette, I look at it as, I think it's a good thing that they kind of throw a middle finger at all of that, because maybe we just, because it limits our ability to communicate with each other, to say it has to look a certain way in order for it to be accessible to everybody. But obviously it's not accessible to everyone, because you label people who might communicate differently or view words and language differently as dyslexic, as, having some kind of learning disability, so to say. Is there another way that you could look at that maybe there's an out of the box way that you communicate that might be useful, or could be an interesting thing to explore creatively, that maybe there's a lot of people that just communicate in this different way?
I agree. Yeah. I mean, just like with learning, you could be an auditorial learner, you could be a visual learner, you could be a hands-on learner, or you could be a combination of one or two or all of them. Same thing with how communicating works. My son, he's a little bit more of an introvert, and I've kind of learned his behaviorism, so to speak, in regards to how I know if he's comfortable or uncomfortable. If he's comfortable, he's going to talk, and he's going to share his passions with you. If he's connecting with you over like anime or his art or video games, I mean, you're gonna talk, and you're not going to think that he's an introvert. Whereas like you put him in a situation that he's not too familiar with, or we're not comfortable with, but he's going to be a completely different person. And so I don't like, yes, I'm talking about dyslexia and my dyslexia and how we resonate with each other, but I watched the show a long time ago. I don't remember what it was called, unfortunately, where it was all about dyslexia and how dyslexic people end up being more artistic in some shape or form. and it just went through all these different people and their stories and how they got to their success, but also their struggles to get to that point and what they had to go through with their dyslexia. And I was kind of teaching him that, like, it doesn't have to be like this disability or this debilitating or this title. You know, we all have titles. We don't have to live to those titles, you know, these narratives that come with these titles. Like we can choose our own narrative, even with that same title. And so trying to teach him these things, and he has control of those things, and allowing him to pursue his passions. And like, there are a lot of tools, like Grammarly is a great one that helps with some writing, but for the most part is, once you realize what your weaknesses are, you study how to strengthen them, or you just strengthen the things that you're good at to where those weaknesses aren't, they just become like nothing. They're just, you can just bypass it. So in his case, he knows that he can get bogged down trying to worry about his spelling, trying to get worried about his grammar or his punctuation. I'm like, dude, just get it out. Whatever it is that you need to write, don't worry about all that other stuff. You know, like, because you're going to get completely bogged down, getting irritated with yourself, frustrated, and you're not going to remember what it is that you were trying to say. Get the thought out, take a second to breathe afterwards, and then dive into the editing portion. And he's gotten to it. And now it's just routine. Now it's just something he just does. It's no longer something he has to really think about. And he then uses the tools that are afforded to him, and which is, you know, half the battle. And knowing what a G.I. Joe used to say, is
knowing's
like,
half the battle, G.I. Joe.
There you go. Thank you. Yeah, exactly that. Once you know you have tools out there, you know where to go get them and access them and utilize them. And if you don't know about them, you struggle until somebody shows you them. So that's coming back to, you know, our elders or parent figure or those in our life that we should listen to. And then when they decide to kind of help out and kind of help guide you, that we need to do that. And having the youth, you know, into the public education sometimes helps with that. But
it's an interesting sort of like mutual learning process, though, isn't it? Like, that's something that I notice with when I'm just talking to my friend Sage, who does a podcast with me too. Like, she's 22, I'm 37, you know, like the crossover education that happens of the, you know, here's this pocket of information that I know that I can draw from that sort of relates to this thing. And she's got, you know, more things that she can share with me. So it is a mutual learning process, and maybe that's kind of something that would be useful just in general for us when it comes to education, you know, to recognize that we have as much to learn from them as we have to offer them in learning. But sorry, John, I interrupted you.
No, I was gonna just ask him, as far as like creative process, we're talking a lot about that and stuff. What inspirations and motivations do you get out of like Twitch streaming? Is it like because
not a lot anymore?
Well, I mean, when you did it, like, you know, or making videos, is it like the interaction you get, or is it there's a crowd waiting for the final result kind of thing? Like, is it a motivator or an inspiration?
Yeah, and if you don't do that as much anymore, like, how have you shifted into a different space?
It's been a transition, that's for sure. Because it was my ex and I, originally when I was the stay-at-home dad and I finished my school, I hung out for a while until my son started going to like 3s and 4s and preparatory for kindergarten. And that's when he was kind of doing the non-traditional school system. And I got a job there as a custodial engineer to help pay for the tuition, because it was like 50% half off. And so being around the kids and just like seeing their art and listening to their interests and them interacting with me. And they're so funny because it was an old building at the time that I was doing this job, and it was like a World War II bomb bunker that was down below, and I had to go down there, and the kids were afraid to go down there, even though I had a lot of stuff down there that wasn't scary, but it was like a mechanical room.
Really interesting, though. That's something that you don't expect being incorporated into a school. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, and so like they were like, hey, we had a rat problem, and I was addressing all the rats problems, and one of the kids were like, I heard you had to fight the Rat King down in the bomb bunker, and I was just like completely blown away by his imagination, but I loved it. It was like, heck yeah, you know, when I'm not, you know, taking care of the school, I'm defending it at night, you know. So it's just
I'm down there fighting the Rat King in the bomb. That's pretty great, fighting the Rat King in the bomb shelter.
Yeah, excuse me for a second, hold on.
Go for it.
That's like a level in the video game that you would need to, you know, so in your series that you create for the animated series, right, the video game version, you're going to have like where you get to do like, that's a level, a boss level, right?
But taking inspiration from those around me is kind of what I was kind of getting at, and from the audience. And at the time, being a Twitch streamer, I started off as family friendly before I went away from that, because it's not a very lucrative path at the beginning because it's just kids, which is
Mhm.
great
Yep.
because you get a lot of interaction. They keep the chat going. They love watching your gameplay. They give you compliments throughout the whole thing. They just make you freaking feel amazing. That's awesome. But then,
Yeah.
you know, you're trying to make money. And I'm not one of those guys who I've heard on YouTube say, like, you know, go get your parents' credit card or go get your parents'
No.
debit
Yeah.
card and make sure you do this
Yeah.
kind of stuff. No,
No.
I'm doing it the right way because I have a kid and I wouldn't do to other people's children what I wouldn't want done to my child type mentality. So
Yeah.
once I
Mhm.
realized I wasn't making as much money taking it just the family friendly route, I ended up opening it up to mature, became a variety content creator. I started doing cooking streams,
Yep.
podcasts,
Mhm.
started doing like my art streams where people would turn in and they would watch. And I was sponsored by a sticker company, and I gave my subscribers a new sticker that we decided on as a community every month. So, you know, whether it be the game we were playing or one of the mascots of the channel that got like a update look or something along those lines.
Mhm.
I drew inspiration from a lot of different places. I liked watching anime myself, and you know,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm an 80s baby, so you know, there's a
Yep.
lot of like cool things from the 80s and 90s that are nostalgic for me that I
Oh yeah, for
still
sure.
draw inspiration from. And
Mhm.
it's I didn't even like that kind of fell into my lap too, the whole content creating thing and being a streamer and YouTubers, because I was sitting down watching a YouTuber with both my boys, and I was in between things still. And my son
Mhm.
was like, Dad, you could do this. And I'm like, do
Mhm.
what? He's like, you could create content and play video games. I'm like, what? You think? He's like, yeah, give it a shot. And then I did, and I really enjoyed it. And I had some success, but um, my ex, she quit her job to do it with me, and then it ended up not working that way. She ended up doing her own thing and kind of went off and did her own thing. And so I left that universe
Mhm.
and kind of just
Mhm.
dropped everything and started putting my efforts into this book. And the expression starving artist is a real thing when your
Absolutely.
only income is coming from the VA because of your disability, and you're no longer creating content and you're no longer having this
Mhm.
other type of cash flow. So, you know, it's been a personal journey, to say the least.
Mhm.
But, you know, now I feel like I'm on the up. You know, we're closing on a
Yeah.
new home. I have a definite more grasp of the process of you know, being a writer.
Mhm.
Illustrating things really slowed down because I go through these ebbs and flows of creativeness, to where
Mhm.
sometimes I feel more creative than other times. Sometimes I'm just stressed from life noise, like we talked about earlier, to where
Yep.
I can't be creative. And so
Yep.
it's a passion project, but I'm constantly putting out queries. I'm a part of a writers guild in the state of Utah. I've joined, what is it? I don't know. I can't ever remember an acronym. I have to look it up. The SCBWI for
Okay.
writing,
Mhm.
which that's the acronym, but I don't remember what it stands for. What's it stand
That's all
for?
right. We can. That's
It's
what
all
Google
good.
is for.
Right? Yeah,
Absolutely.
I want to Google it right now. But so, you know, I have a better understanding of the process. Doesn't mean I'm going to be successful in the process, but I have a better understanding of the process, and I'm going to keep trying at it. And I'm motivated to do farmers markets up in the state of Oregon, and we're living close to the beach, and we're actually going back. My wife and I are going back to where our love story kind of stems, and
Oh,
we want to
that's
do
fun.
farmers markets there. Yeah, we're really excited about it, and
Yep.
it's a fun story to tell how, you know, her and I kind of became a couple and all that kind of stuff, and for us to go kind of pursue this dream that we have together of having our own
Mhm.
store, to where, you know, she's a writer as well, and she's got 15 years of child teaching experience and childcare experience, and she's a bit of an artist, and she, you know, she's spiritual. My dad calls her hippy dippy, but I freaking love it.
Yeah.
It's we're like night and day.
That.
You know, you got this
Yep.
old
Love it.
crusty veteran, and you got this very
Yep.
spiritual, free thinking mind. I mean, it's great. I love it, like yin and yang. Um,
That's what makes the world go round. You
it
need
Hey,
really
that balance.
does.
That's how it
opposites
And
works.
attract.
That's
yeah, it really
right.
does. And she's bringing out so much more of my creativeness and my
Mhm.
expressiveness, and really knocking down a lot of walls that I had put up, you know, because, you know, I was with my previous partner for 18 years when um, content creating on Twitch, and maybe some time before that, she realized that man, this is hard for me to talk about. A little personal. I don't know how personal I want to get, but she came out of the closet, and that's kind of why things ended. And she now lives on the other side of the country and with her partner. And so, you know, there's a lot of like ebbs and flows in life,
right.
and a lot of mental
I have a
turmoil.
friend who has exactly that same situation that happened actually. So it's not unusual, and I mean, it's again, and whatever comfort level you have, but like just for people to know that like these stories and these things in life, they do happen, and
They're
sometimes they
wild.
feel like they're awful end of the world situations,
Yeah,
but sometimes
they're
it's that
not.
tower card situation in tarot. You need to have things blow up because that's how the new good stuff comes in. And
Yep.
if that's how it's got to be, then so be it
Right.
sometimes,
I mean,
right?
that's if it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I call my wife like my what if, because after that 18-year ended, I was like, I'm never doing this again. Like this, how could I ever find love again? All this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then it took a while before my friends were like, dude, you're in a funk. You ain't you. It's like the Snickers commercial. Like, you ain't you when you
Yeah,
meet anybody
yeah,
new.
right. Mm-hmm.
But so like you need to get back out there. And I got on a dating app, and that was a dumb idea. I had some terrible dates. I got catfished a
Yeah.
lot. Oh man, it's just some horrible fun stories that we don't have to go into
Some
right now.
horrible fun stories.
But
I love it. We'll have you back on Day of Fun because that's where we can get into horrible fun
absolutely,
stories.
absolutely.
Just
And
hear that deep voice say, "Are you rich?"
I don't know what you're talking about, but
Right?
okay.
Nah, just
Oh,
kidding.
like
Well, I
I
have a
tell
friend,
you.
his name is Bear, and I've actually had to do some voiceover work for because he's got some voice acting jobs done in some video games, but he's got this really deep
Yep.
voice, and when he talks, it's just like nobody else wants to talk or interrupt or talk over him. They just want to hear his low,
Yeah.
deep voice. It's so like
Yeah.
kind of almost raspy. It's like freaking awesome. I'm like, damn, you're sexy, and I'm heterosexual.
Like he's playing the Undertaker 24 hours a day.
Oh, I love it. No, that's so good. I was just thinking Sam Elliott, like, from the Big Lebowski. Like, that's what I'm thinking. I love it. Like, how can you not dig that? I get it.
Yeah. No,
I'm
real
with
cool
it.
dude too, man. Super nice. But yeah, he does some voiceover work for me. And he's so funny. I have it somewhere on my phone. Maybe I'll send it to you guys later on,
Oh,
just for
for
you
sure.
to hear, because it cracks me up. It was a pitch for me on my channel when I was a Twitch streamer.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of funny. Yeah, it
Oh,
was pretty
I love
funny.
it. I would love to hear it.
Yeah.
So I want to ask, so this is fun things. I want to get into like big delusional fun. Be delusional, be delusionally fun with us.
Okay.
Money is no object, time is no object. You have all the bandwidth in the world. What is the project that you really would devote your time and energy to if there were no other boundaries, no other limits?
Oh, well, basically what you kind of heard me say as our plan, our endeavor. We really want to create our own business, kind of make it more like a family business. And it's called the Wonderful Works of Wharton, to where everybody with this can kind of contribute in some way. Like my son talks about him wanting to do like figurines and carvings. And we've been playing with a lot of dry model clay sculpting and painting and having fun with that. And my wife is, she wants to get her poems and her art sold. I want to do the same thing with a lot of my art because, outside of illustrating and writing for my book, I'm still creating on other mediums. And if I didn't have to worry about money, I could just do what it is I want to do. I'm already moving to the beach, y'all. I'm getting my dream home. Like, I'm so freaking excited.
I'm so happy for you.
I to come back to where we were like, you have to appreciate your struggles to appreciate where you are later on in life. You don't realize what those struggles are. Come back to the meant to be. You don't realize what's in store for you until later on. It was like, holy crap! Like I'm in love with a woman, and I'm experiencing love the way love should be experienced. And like, I didn't even realize I was missing out on love until I was with this woman. I was like, holy crap! This is what it's supposed to be like. It makes so much more sense,
I love it.
Right, that's 2020, and now I'm moving to a part of the country that I love because it reminds me of England. Oregon's very wet, very beautiful, very green. And my boys are with me. I have full custody of my boys, and I don't know. It's just like I don't have any wants or desires because I feel like it's all within my hands right now. And so I just want to keep that going. I'm not even like a huge person that want to be like crazy rich, famous, and successful, to be honest with you. It's never been about that. It's just about I love creating content. I love connecting with people from all parts of the world, all walks of life, getting in a shared space and sharing it and experience together. This is the kind of stuff that I just live for. And farmers markets, that's constant interaction with people throughout the day. And I'm not like,
and you get to be outside and you get, meeting new people, learning new stories. I am with you 100% on that. That's what's so exciting about the worlds that we, and kind of bringing it back to like the balance thing when it comes to kids, like having that balance of being able to connect with people from across the world in a space like this, but also having beautiful spaces like a farmer's market. You can go outside and be outdoors and enjoy it.
And I can peddle my books and if it gets me literary, like eventually okay, let me change the way I'm manifesting this. When I get my literacy agent,
now that you have your literacy, that your literary representation, and now that you and I both have our series being animated, because I'm totally with you, like we're going to have some crossover episodes.
Yes.
So I'm super excited for our crossover episodes where my characters bounce into your universe and your characters bounce into my universe.
Love it.
The crossover episode between our stuff is going to be, the fans are going to love it. They're already excited for the promos that have come out. It's beautiful.
Awesome. And if they want some more promotions, they can check out the Instagram that I have on my Inktober's for 2022. There's like a story. I used to do a lot of Inktober's, but this one only shows 1 year. But I took my character from my story and I did crossovers to like all pop culture of that time. So like I had a lot of fun with it. So it's, it's an interdimensional being. He can go wherever he wants, and that can be whatever the story needs to be. So it will work. We'll totally make it happen.
That's my writing too. We're interdimensional beings. We can go anywhere and do anything and have any experience we want. I love it so much.
So we have kind of a wrap-up question on our podcast, seeing that we're from the Dakotas.
Okay.
We're going to ask you, what's your Mount Rushmore of your favorite entertainment growing up? This can be books, movies, series, video games, whatever. What is your top 4? You're moving to a place that you can have 4 luxuries. What are they going to be?
4 luxuries?
Well, like
it's your childhood entertainment, like inner child Richard. What would inner child Richard take along with him? What's your Mount Rushmore of these are the things I need to have?
In just general, so like anime, would that be a great one?
I love it.
Video games, that's obviously another one. Art. That way I can continue to do so. I don't know.
What kind of art are we? Are we painting? Are we drawing?
All of it.
All of it.
I don't want to do just one thing. That's just it. Like I have a very eclectic taste. I like everything, and
I have that same problem.
I'm a millennial. I was told I could be whatever I wanted to be when I grow up. I'm still trying to figure that out. That's the same thing for the things that I like. I like a lot of things. So it's hard for me to narrow it down, but my goodness, going to the, because Oregon coast is so close to the mountains too. Like Mount Hood is just a couple hours away. There's going to be snow there. If I don't want the snow, I just go back to the coast, go a little bit southern to southern Oregon. It's definitely warmer. So like, I don't know. I feel like I've already kind of won the Mount Rushmore, Paramount, whatever you want to call it. Like in regards, I already got everything. I don't have anything other. What I got going on as my desires. I just want to protect it.
If you could just make a container to put that energy into, because that's what we're all trying to get to, where know what? It's all really great right now, and we're just excited for the more that's coming.
All right. Yeah, I was just like, I'm just riding this because it's not going to always feel this good. There's going to be a lot of stressful moments ahead. There's going to be times where I'm distressed and I can't figure out what I'm going to do next, or I might be pinching pennies between paycheck and paycheck. But right now, I'm not worried about any of that. I'm presently here and I'm in a great mood. You guys have been wonderful chatting with. And so I just want to keep this going, to be honest with you.
I love it. Guess what? We want to keep it going too. We're going to have to bring you back to Day of Fun. We're going to have to keep rocking and rolling.
Sounds perfect.
I'm here for it. I'm here for all the fun conversations that we could have.
So let me bubble that last question for you. What's your favorite childhood movie?
There we go.
Did you not just hear everything I said?
Yeah,
I heard it, but I'm putting you on the spot.
Okay.
The childhood movie that you just adored, like what's the first thing that comes to your head? Like I have a lot of them too, but I watched Beetlejuice so much I made my grandma call me Lydia.
Mine's awesome.
Sandlot. Oh man. That's
You're killing
a great
me,
one. You're killing me.
I watch it every year.
I can't even answer falling. Sandlot.
That's my brother's. That's our 4th of July tradition. We don't shoot fireworks. We watch The Sandlot. That's it.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good one. Being a military family, we watch so many movies and shows together. Like we quote lines. Like when we get together, family reunions, we're just quoting shows the whole freaking time. It's so difficult to choose just one. But I'll tell you what. I really loved the Ghostbusters growing up, like the real Ghostbusters, the cartoon series.
Absolutely.
I love the first one and the second one in the movies. I actually a buddy of mine, his grandma had bought an original Ghostbusters 2 like movie poster puzzle, and she kept it in the box and she held it onto it for years and years and years. He gave it
That
to
is
him.
a treasure.
He gave it to me. I opened it up this last Christmas and I put it together, took that what do you call that? Mod Podge to kind of glue it all together. I'm gonna end up framing it, but it's sitting here right next to me. So that's what I'm gonna have to go with Ghostbusters. Because Afterlife, oh my god, made me cry. Loved Afterlife. And then what's the one that just came out?
So good.
Frozen Empire. I really enjoyed it. But I mean, like, just the Ghostbusters. I think that's probably my. I dress up as a Ghostbuster every Halloween. I think I probably have
fantastic
pictures of it on my Facebook or something, maybe my Instagram somewhere. If not, I need to change that. But yeah,
I mean, 𝓕𝓻𝓭𝓸𝓸𝓻𝓽 is my spirit animal, 100%. Like, I'm with it. 100%. I love it.
Okay, hold on. I know I have it on my phone, so I'm just gonna hold it up to the camera for you to see. I just got to get to October. 1 second here.
You're good.
Oh, I love it. No, this is. Let me tell you what. Anything Ghostbusters related is definitely something that I am here for.
It's just so much fun, and like I made my own proton pack one year, and then
very nice.
That's pretty awesome.
It was really bulky. I mean, I took so many scrap things, like just to make it functional, and then I ended up buying one of those ones you could buy from like the Spirit of Halloween, just because it looked better than what I had.
Well, but the one that you had is more like the building the fort in the forest when you were a kid, putting it together with whatever pieces you can find, and they're supposed to be heavy and awkward because that's part of the joke, right? Like,
yes.
I mean, carrying that thing up 20 flights of stairs is,
Yeah, and I had like the whole like that yellow tube that they have like randomly coming out of their pants. Like I had to look into it. Like, what is this tube? That's when they get so scared and they piss themselves. They have nowhere to go. You know,
I love it.
Okay, I'm in the right area. I'm gonna pull up the first one. This is me. But I don't know how good it's gonna look on the camera. I've got
that's fantastic.
Yep.
I love it.
That's a fake cigarette, not a real one. I don't really.
We don't care if it is or no. Listen, it's a prop that's part of the character. You got to have it. That's really good. That's fantastic. I love that. That's great.
So I'm a dork.
Yeah.
No, I love that stuff.
Good. We're all dorks.
I love being a geek. That's what am I saying? I'm gonna embrace it. You know, I was like,
absolutely.
Moving to Portland, right? Like embrace the weird.
Embrace the weird. Love having fun.
Keep it weird, man.
That's right.
This is my wife's mermaid cup, by the way, that I'm drinking from so far.
Oh, I love it. We're gonna have to have another episode, and you and your wife come on and both talk about all of your fun stuff that you do.
Oh my gosh, she would love that. Her and I, we have some very deep, fun conversations. She could definitely talk your guys' ears off with some of her conspiracy theories. It's awesome.
Oh, fun times. We're gonna have you back for a day of fun. Bring her along. It's gonna, like, the four of us, we could like deep dive into all kind of conspiracies, and I will just love every moment of it.
Absolutely, sounds great. I'm looking forward to it.
We are too. Richard Wharton, content creator, writer, illustrator, all around genuinely fun, amazing human being. Thank you so much for joining us for this podcast. It has been
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Hi again, friends. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of the No Small Stories podcast. Do check out the links below in the description so you can find more information on this episode's guest. And if you'd like to support more episodes of the No Small Stories podcast, you can become a patron. Find us on patreon.com/NoSmallStories. Do also follow us on Instagram at No Small Stories Podcast. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a review, do all those wonderful things that you awesome listeners can do. Until next time, friends, remember, no matter how small you start, your story is always a big deal to us. Special thanks to the Parapost Network for the support of their community. Check out all the great podcasts on the Parapost Network on Facebook.